Hi everyone. You've merged your development and operations departments, but what comes next?
We have 6 real-world examples to share today, how they have helped WirelessCar in the DevOps adoption. My name is Ronnie Hilmersson, and I'm Scrum Master at WirelessCar.
And my name's David Rutter. I'm an organizational change manager at WirelessCar. And together we work in what's called the DevOps Guiding Crew, supporting our teams in their DevOps journey. So I'd like to start with telling a little bit about who we are at WirelessCar. So we're a software company working in the automotive industry. And we're helping to bridge the gap between the automotive and software by providing solutions for connectivity between the vehicles and services such as emergency call, stolen vehicle tracking, remote heating, and smart EV routing. So we serve almost 12 million connected cars across 105 countries. And our solutions process about 700,000 messages per minute. We're more than 700 staff worldwide, and the vast majority of those are working in our delivery and product development organization. So that is in DevOps teams delivering value to our customers. And we have more than 70 of these teams. Okay, so a little bit about the WirelessCar DevOps journey. So we actually merged our development operations departments in 2016, so quite some time ago. And since then, we've had this multi-year journey. We've grown significantly, and also our way of working has evolved over that time. Now we recognise the importance of autonomy and freedom within our teams. And we have that, but also with organisational support and guidance. And this mainly takes the form of reporting on our SLAs, ensuring a high level of quality, security, and of course, compliance. And we also recognise the importance of team development across the organisation, and we believe it plays a big role in our DevOps success. And we'll talk about an example of this later on in our talk. So with that background, can you tell us the 6 examples we will be talking about today, Ronnie?
Yes, let me introduce our 6 examples. 1, how to make your team masters in handling DevOps. Increasing the number of production deploys. 3, how to measure DevOps progress and plan improvements. 4, creating enabler teams. 5, what can we learn from using the DORA metrics? 6, building high-performing teams. And we have been on the DevOps journey for a while, and we have some specific real-world examples to share from WirelessCar. And the aim is that you will bring at least one of our examples to try out in your team or organization. So let's jump into our first real-world example, how to make your team masters in handling operations. And it's an example from Team Sirocco, one of our teams at WirelessCar. So why is it important? We want to have healthier teams. To take care of support and operations alone can be stressful, especially if you're a new team member. We also want to ensure a high quality. And one way to do it is to have time to be proactive and solve issues before they reach the end user. And we also believe that ownership of the services can be increased by shared operations knowledge in the team. Okay, our team already takes care of both dev and ops. What more can we do to make it easier for the team to handle ops? To have support ninjas, of course. Okay, I will explain. Team Sirocco had only one person in support in the beginning, and it was stressful. And the team had no time to be proactive. So Team Sirocco tried out to have 2 ninjas in support at the same time, and one ninja was assisting the head ninja, and the supporting ninja also worked in the sprint as usual. And assisting ninja is the head ninja the week after with a new assisting ninja from the team. And the roles are rotating in the team from week to week. Team Sirocco's way of working became a success. The team now worked more proactive, improved their monitoring, and increased their security awareness. They also had less stress in the team, and they had better knowledge sharing on operations, which also created more ownership of the operations. And now I hand over to David, who have something very exciting to share about production deployments.
Okay, so one of the tenets of DevOps is having smaller, more frequent deploys. But how do you do this and maintain a good level of quality? Like, how does it actually happen? So we'll talk about Team California and provide some information on what they did. Okay, let's talk about why this is important. So why would we want actually to have smaller, more frequent deploys? So reduce risk, deploying smaller scope more frequently to reduce the risk of failure. And then, of course, when it does happen, we want to be able to identify the issue quicker and respond quicker than what we would be able to with a larger deploy. We want to shorten our feedback loop to get feedback on our changes quicker, to get feedback from our customers, and in turn respond quicker to our customers' needs and our customer feedback. And then we also, of course, we want a positive developer experience. And we know that faster feedback and reduced stress around deployments are contributing factors in developer experience. So what did the team do? So they built upon 3 pillars, so testing, system design, and measuring and monitoring. So for testing, of course, so doing the right testing in the right environments to ensure quality, but also to build confidence around the deployments. So we're talking, of course, about functional tests, viewing the services and solutions both as a black box and knowing what's inside the black box, and planning testing so we can try and defend ourselves against future mistakes that we might make. We have test bots in production so we can see after deploy, see very quickly where there's issues after the deploy. And importantly, to treat those test bots like you would a production services, same level of quality, security, and a high priority as well. Because, if those test bots are running and they're accurate, then you can quickly find out if you've deployed something that's broken something. For system design, so of course, design for testability, for the ease of testing, deploy and rollback, very important. And then, of course, especially where there's APIs involved, ensure backwards compatibility. For measuring and monitoring, so we want to measure the right things and monitor so we can understand the production behavior as well as detect and respond to issues. And we try to do automated system testing also as a source of monitoring. So running, say, the happy cases in production over and over as monitoring, but these are the same cases we might have run earlier on in the development cycle. So that's the basics of the design and how they did it. I've got some more important points to mention though. So of course they established a baseline and they continue to check how many deploys they do, but it's just important to have a baseline. And then to really understand and make use of the data that you get, and to take this data and take the measurements into your iterative development process, examine the process, and continue to improve. And importantly, taking the time to continuously invest in the quality. So we have one example of what sort of thing this enabled, and this is the infamous Log4j issue in 2021, where they could update and deploy very quickly and with confidence. And then compared to some other teams who did not have the same infrastructure and testing in place, they took a lot longer. Okay, so what are some of the insights that we can learn from Team California's experience? So as I mentioned before, treating testing services as like you would a production service. Understanding that quality is not just about getting the green light to deploy to production. It's also about building confidence in the team so that you can deploy frequently to production and have confidence around detecting issues if they do occur. Bringing these measurements into your development process, into your iterative process, investing time into quality continuously. And then, of course, the mindset, very important, of continuous improvement. So, Ronnie, how can a team measure the DevOps adoption progress and plan their improvements from that data?
Good question, David. But first I will talk about why it's important to measure DevOps progress. So why is it important? I hope that everyone here wants to improve. Am I right? Yes, good to hear. But first we might need to know where to start and where we are. And we want to start in the right end and focus on the right improvements. So how did we start to measure our DevOps progress in WirelessCar? In WirelessCar we started with DevOps Health Radar assessment almost 2 years ago. It's a questionnaire provided by the SAFe framework to visualize where the team is strong or where it's weak and in the DevOps adoption. And the outcome of the survey ends up in a diagram that shows where the team is weak or strong and where they should start their improvements. And something important to add, the assessment outcome is owned by the team and not for the management to measure the team. And after running the DevOps Health Radar assessment with the teams for almost 2 years, we have some insights to share. The DevOps Health Radar is a standardized tool and might not fit all organizations. So we started to build our own tool to easier fit our business. We wanted the tool to cover also security and compliance, since we believe that these areas are important for our business. And we also learned that the teams tended to do the DevOps Health Radar assessment only once and then, okay, we are done. So we started to think about how we could integrate the assessment into our way of working. And since WirelessCar is scaling Scrum through SAFe framework, we looked into integrating the assessment in our PI iterations. It means that when the team does the assessment before the PI planning, they are able to identify the improvements and plan it into the PI. We also have created a self-help guide for the teams to help them on the journey. And we don't want the DevOps adoption to be a separate activity from our way of working. It should be integrated to our way of working. But David, sometimes we need more help, right?
Exactly. So now we have an example from Team Bender, which is a relatively new enablers team in one of our programs. So if you remember, enablers team is set up specifically to help other teams around them. And I can also add that one of the members of the enablers team is here in the audience today. He's wearing one of these hoodies, but he doesn't want me to point him out. Okay, so let's talk about enablers teams for a moment. So yes, we set up enablers teams to help the customer-facing development teams around them. And we let the customer teams deliver the business value and the enablers teams to support them. By having a team like that in a program or an organization, they can become like a bit of a hub for expertise, knowledge sharing, best practices, producing patterns, and then to support the developers around them. And overall, the goal is a better developer experience in that area. Okay, so how did Team Bender come to exist? Right, so one part was spending time building the business case. So they actually spent a lot of time building a business case. Then the opportunity came during a program restructure. And they also identified a strong why for the reason for having the team, which was identifying the need for improving on the development process. When they started, they spent time to interview developers to identify pain points and to help them to start prioritizing their work. When talking about their perspective, they made sure that they treat their developers as their customers. And then when you're thinking about prioritization, then especially for a new team, it's really good to start with some low-hanging fruit to get a short dev to release cycle to show some early wins, but also some demonstrate some early value on having the team. But also having these smaller tasks also lets you establish a bit of a working process with the development teams around you. So what can we learn from Team Bender, from the creation of this enablers team? So one insight from them is not to have spillover tasks from the customer-facing development teams going into the enabler team. So don't work on leftover tasks, basically. So one of the big reasons for this is that the business knowledge needs to stay in the teams that are the customer-facing development teams. You don't want to have to hand over business knowledge and then hand it back when they've finished the task. Understand where the development teams are before delivering more advanced features. So the temptation might be, to go all out. Oh, we've got, the teams need this tool. They need this tool right now, but maybe they're not ready for it just yet. Maybe you need to help them with some other things first. So start that way. As I mentioned, so working on tasks with a short dev to release cycle to get these early wins, but also importantly, you need to establish a good way of working with the teams around you. And to remember that the customers of the enabler team is the other development teams. Now, the DORA metrics are often talked about, but what can we actually learn from them? So Ronnie has some answers to share with us.
Yeah, I have some really exciting insights to share on the DORA metrics, but first I will talk about why they are important. By starting to use the DORA metrics, the aim is to lower the deployment risks with smaller deploys and also remove bottlenecks or blockers to be able to release to customer on demand. We all want to ensure a high quality and with less deployment issues. We also want to fulfill SLAs, SLOs and SLIs by having fast recovery of our services after an incident. And the aim is to deliver value and put less stress on taking care of incidents caused by low quality. And again, the metrics are not for the managers to measure the teams. The team uses them for their own progress. Great, we have the DORA metrics. Is that it? Not really. We have learned a few things during the use of the DORA metrics. So how can we use the metrics when the teams already are elite performers? When we had the metrics in place, we understood that the metrics rather confirmed that the most teams in the department already were elite performers due to the metrics, since they had optimal CI/CD pipeline and way of working in place. So our insight was for already elite performers, we rather might use a limit to remind the teams that they need to reflect on why they have lowered their lead times or higher the failure rate. And it's also good to think about what we can read from the data. What does it say? When we dug into the lead time for changes data, we saw a need of process improvement that helped both the team and improvement the data quality. Okay, David. The teams might be elite performers according to the DORA metrics. Is that it? Can we be satisfied?
No. This is a short answer. So I'm going to talk now about helping teams become high performing. And when I mean high performing, I mean teams with a high level of trust, psychological safety, and really able to communicate and collaborate well. We feel that this is really important, and we'll talk about why in a minute. We also feel this is a big enabler for us in our DevOps journey. So having high-performing teams is a foundation that enables teams to adopt DevOps. And perhaps you can also think of it, especially if you think about, say, Scrum and DevOps, where it kind of assumes that you've got high-performing teams from the start. It doesn't talk about how you get to that point. So I'm going to talk about that a bit more now. How do you get to that point of a high-performing team? So at WirelessCar, we use a model created by Susan Wheelan. It's called the Integrated Model of Group Development, and it has a survey tool called the GDQ, the Group Development Questionnaire. And Susan Wheelan's model builds on the Tuckman model. And if you remember, the Tuckman model is forming, storming, norming, performing. In Susan Wheelan's model, we have stages 1 to 4. 3 to 4 is a high-performing team. To help our teams develop, Scrum Masters helps the teams to develop on areas that are highlighted in the GDQ results. So everybody in the team does the GDQ. The GDQ engine spits out a report, and it highlights some areas that the teams can potentially focus on. And these could be things like collaboration, communication, making sure everybody speaks up, leadership, and those sorts of things. So I'm going to talk about a particular team now, and around the GDQ results, we do not name teams. The data is for the team to use, and it all remains anonymous. We have one particular team, though, and they progress from a stage 1 team to a stage 4 team to a high-performing team in roughly 12 months. And then I'll mention how that had a really positive effect on their DevOps journey. So what they did as a team was they ran the GDQ to see where they were. It said stage 1. And it highlighted some potential areas they could work on. The Scrum Master took those areas and conducted a series of workshops and make sure in their retrospectives, they were theme-based retrospectives, they looked at particular aspects that were highlighted in the GDQ report. So they did this for 6 months, and they run another GDQ report to show their progress and a bit of a check on how they were going. Did the same with the new focus areas. And then after 12 months, ran the GDQ report, and it said, yes, you're high performing. Congratulations. So the impact of this is really highlighted by a pivotal moment that the Scrum Master remembers, where the team, which in the past for certain decisions might have had a heavy reliance on the formal leaders in the team, so your product owner, product manager, Scrum Master, and instead they had built up the ability and the confidence to take this decision themselves. And if you think about it, adopting DevOps and changing things is a series of big and small decisions, and it's quite often much better if the team has the confidence to come up with an idea or solution, debate it amongst themselves, and then move forward, having made the decision rather than having it imposed on them. So just to repeat, just the method that they use. So establish where you are, look at the highlighted areas from the report, run the series of workshops and retrospectives, and then check where you are again. Okay, so some insights from this exercise at WirelessCar around high-performing teams. So one is to have a focused and deliberate effort on team development. Don't just leave it to pizza and beer every once in a while. Be strategic in planning your retrospectives, and of course, be aware of the local optimization you might get from your sprint reviews, just focusing on the previous weeks of the sprint. And also DevOps ownership and effectiveness go hand in hand with high-performing teams. Okay, that's our 6 examples. Let's talk about some highlights and insights from each of those.
Handle operations in a more efficient way with less stress. We heard about Team Sirocco and the support ninjas.
We talked about Team California and their experience in increasing the number of production deploys, and noted that quality is not just about the green light to deploy to production, it's also about building confidence in the team.
And we want DevOps adoption to be integrated in a way of working. So I talked about how we are integrating it to our SAFE framework with the PI plannings.
From Team Bender, our new enablers team. So identifying your customer and meet them where they are before delivering more advanced tools and features.
And the learnings from using DORA metrics. We might use the DORA metrics in another way with teams who are already elite performers. And then
one of our big learnings from WirelessCar, so have a focused and deliberate effort in team development. And we have one last reflection to share. So we've talked here about a number of the different tools, so the DevOps Health Radar, the GDQ, the DORA metrics. But it's not really about the tools. It's really how you reflect on what the information the tools are giving you, and then modifying your processes for the teams around using the tools. And this has the biggest impact.
So please come and talk with us if you have any further questions on how we can use these real-world examples to help you in your organization or your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.